Have you prepared the cabin for landing in retirement? FAPA Financial Services is a registered investment advisor built by and dedicated to professional pilots. And having been pilots ourselves, we understand the complexities that retirement can bring, from the mandatory cutoff age of 65 at the airlines to the stress of the job itself. We will create a financial plan and invest your portfolio for a smooth land so that you can focus on doing the job safely for those depending on you. Visit our website, FAPAfinancial.com, to learn more. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of FAPA Talk. I'm Tim Gentz, and I'm here with Jennel Nodland. Hello, Jennel. How are you?
I'm so great. I'm so excited to be on the podcast today.
Yes, we're excited to have you. The way we went ahead and got in touch was kind of interesting. The Andrew from our marketing department had reached out and did not realize that you go back a little bit with the person who founded FAPA, Lewis Smith.
Yep.
So, such a small world in aviation.
Yeah, it's so ironic. Who would think that we would know two separate people and then it all came together so perfectly?
Seriously, we were doing a recruiting event in Honolulu years ago, and I was in there, and as people, I think it was a cold day in Honolulu, it was in the 70s, and somebody said, oh, it's kind of cold. And I jokingly said, I'm from Chicago. Please don't tell me about cold. And somebody in the corner said, you're from Chicago. I said, yes. She's like, where about? I said, this area. She's like, I learned to fly in Chicago. I'm like, really? She said, yeah. And I said, what school? And she told me the school, and she told me the name of it. And she said, do you know this and this person? I'm like, I taught that person to fly. Here I am on
Oh
the
my.
other side of the world almost.
Yeah.
And again, just how connected everybody is. So
Yeah, they
it's
say the
fun.
aviation world is really small, so that's a perfect
It-
example.
yes, it is. And it's small in a good way. But for those that are, interested in a career in aviation, it's small. Always keep that
Yes.
in mind. So,
Yeah.
well, let's get back to you. Tell us about yourself.
Sure. So I'm from Southern California. I'm born and raised in Orange County. I a first generation aviator in my family. I didn't grow
Hmm.
up with aviators around me. I grew up playing travel softball, and then I went on to college and then worked for Disney. Had 10 years with Disney. I eventually found my way into becoming a flight attendant with Delta Airlines. And that's been my world for the last 9 years. Up until recently, when I decided to kind of change it up. And I attended ATP flight school in Long Beach and got all my certificates to be able to become a CFI, CFII, MEI. And that's what I'm doing now. So a little bit of a unique path to becoming a pilot,
Yeah.
but
But
pretty proud of
the
it.
the Disney side of that is kind of fun.
Yeah, it is, and that was also something that I never thought I would be in. I randomly went to an audition one day for a role in the entertainment department and landed the job. Again, coming from a sport background, I never thought of entertainment and wasn't exposed to the entertainment world.
Hmm.
So that was all new to me, but became such a huge part of my life and more than grateful for it. Have my best friends from there and some of my greatest memories. So yeah, the Disney part was random, as is this. So I'm just gonna keep this theme going, I think.
Yes, absolutely. So you mentioned that you weren't part of an aviation family. And by the way, that was me, first generation aviator in my family. So how did you go from, the sports background and Disney to getting into aviation?
Well, so I was at the 7 year mark with my Disney career. I was kind of getting the itch.
Hmm.
And I knew that I wasn't going to be a Disney entertainer for the rest of my life. Um, and at the time, I was in a relationship with someone from Northern Ireland, and it was getting pretty expensive to see each other. So we figured we might need to look into an aviation job that would allow us to get free flights. Um,
Okay.
at the time, I had a huge fear of flying, so I
Hmm.
was not the best passenger in the back, so I never being becoming a flight attendant never crossed my mind. I say that, but then I look back on my senior year when we did, career day, I actually went as a flight attendant. I think because I had that huge fear of flying, and I had,
Hmm.
friends whose moms were flight attendants, and I thought, "How do they do it? How do they get on an aircraft every day?" Um, so I was so intrigued by that, and I went and interviewed them and then went to career day as a flight attendant. So maybe there was some subconscious stuff going on in the back of my brain, leading me to that path. But I was like, you know what? It's time to face your fear and maybe apply for a flight attendant. I'm already in customer service. It might morph well. And I remember I was up super late one night and I Googled who's hiring for flight attendants. And the only one hiring was Delta Airlines.
Mm,
And I said, okay, let's do it. Submitted my resume. And there was this gut instinct that thought, I think something might come of this. And sure
mm.
enough, I got through the first 2 interviews online and was flown to Atlanta, Georgia, and went to the interview a little bit green with it all. Should have probably done a little bit more research on the company, but I got the job, and my life truly was like forever changed. I've been so happy with my career path since, since that day, 2015.
So when
It's been
did
great.
going from the back seat to the front seat start happening?
Um, well, I really put a romantic twist to being a flight attendant. I love layovers. I love being
Mm,
in new cities. I love meeting new friends. I crave it. Um, and when COVID hit, that the romantic part of it started to dwindle just because the world slowed down so much. The layovers went away. I wasn't really flying. I was on a personal leave for a bit that Delta was offering. Um, so I felt a bit plateaued and a little
mm,
stale. And I was thinking, okay, maybe I go back to school. Maybe I go get a different degree, but that wasn't interesting me enough. I just knew I wanted a challenge and a change. And at the time, I was around a bunch of pilots, uh, which in hindsight was awesome, right? Because I was next to aircraft during COVID and hearing the aviation talk, and I started to think maybe I could do this. Maybe that this is a pathway forward. It was again that random gut instinct, something
mm.
turning inside of me. Took a while to vocalize those words, um, but I got there, and it's been wild ever since. So I would say COVID is when it started to change. Or when that idea popped in my head.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned that, maybe, just maybe that could happen. Between that and, what were I don't know, the paradigms, the archetypes, the stereotypes, the challenges that you had to go ahead and face to get to where you are right now, teaching other people to fly and imparting your wisdom, knowledge, and passion upon them.
Yeah. Um, well, there's a bit of an imposter syndrome going on,
Mm,
being a female, and I'm not a huge, I'm a petite female who's just making her way through life. So I was the stereotype of that macho male, the
mm,
traditional pilot was definitely there in my head. So that was a hurdle for me to start to conceive that I actually could do it. I would say that was the first mental hurdle that I had to get over,
okay.
that I had to face. So the stereotypes in the beginning were hard for me, but once
Mm.
I kind of owned it and started to own my own passion, then I started to see progress after that.
So just kind of backing up on that. So was that more of an in your head thing, or was that the way that the industry was treating or perceiving you while you were in training?
While I was in train, so once I actually made the jump and joined ATP, there was my first instructor was a female. So,
Mm,
uh, no, it was actually way different than what I had expected going in. I
mm,
thought it would be all men, and um, that would, be the way of it. But no, I had an amazing female instructor for my private stage. So I was actually surrounded by a lot of women, and that made me feel so much more comfortable.
wow.
So I could, the industry is changing, and I was able to witness that firsthand. And it was just my pre-existing fears that allowed me to think that I was just going to encounter the stereotype.
Okay. So apart from that, any other challenges or roadblocks or hurdles that you had to overcome?
Well, they say for me, great. I'm very grateful to have had a very supportive group around me,
Mm.
um, who encouraged me and mentored me and kept pushing me to for what I was telling them was my goals to go for them. But I do know for a lot of people who are in my position, if they don't have that support group, that can be a huge hurdle if they don't have the motivation behind them. And also we do learn as you become a CFI that the first big hurdle is medical. Thankfully had no issue with that. And then the second big massive hurdle for a lot of people is the finances. That was somewhat of a hurdle for me, but I was able to get a student loan, which I was fine with, knowing it's a sacrifice at the beginning for, the greater picture, down the road in the long haul. So
Mhm.
those are the two bigger hurdles that I know a lot of people can struggle with. And I'm just
Mhm.
super grateful they didn't prohibit me that much.
Just kind of continuing along with that, there's going to be people watching this that are already well into their aviation journey, but there's going to be people watching this that they're at the beginning. They're where you are. They're
Yeah.
still fighting against the idea that you have to have perfect uncorrected vision to do this, that you've got to be a math and a science genius to do this, that you have to go to the military to do this. What
Yeah.
would you tell someone that's watching this going, huh, maybe I can do this?
Yeah. I would say if you have a will, there's always a way, and don't let fear prohibit you. I
Hmm.
am not any of those things that you just stated. I didn't fall into any of those boxes. Um, Go for it, or at least get into an intro flight and see if you like it. Let's say if you've had this dream of becoming a pilot, you get to your intro flight, you like it, but you're not in love with it. Maybe there's another pathway in aviation. There's so many jobs that could your doors could be open to. ATC, flight attendant,
Hmm.
gate agents. Takes a lot of people to get one flight off the ground. And so if you have any inclination, face your fears that are prohibiting you and just go forward with it. You might stumble across a different job that's the perfect fit for you. So face your fear, start walking forward. If there's a road, start walking down it. You never know what door is going to open for you.
Of the all of the different aviation organizations that are out there, and we've got Women in Aviation, we've got the 99s, we've got OBAP, NGPA, we've got PAPA, LPA. Um, which of those have you had the opportunity to get involved with or just experience before?
Well, I'm going to say FAPA because here we are. Um, but Women in Aviation, I've been attempting to be as involved with them as possible. Thankfully, I became a brand ambassador with ATP, which
Okay.
I was so excited about. This week, this is also ironic. I was supposed to be working at the Women in Aviation conference, and that's going on today. So I was going to be there supporting the booth, but I have since left ATP. And I'm obviously not working there today, but Women in Aviation's been the one that's been kind of driving me and the one I've been trying to get involved with, and FAPA.
What do you like about Women in Aviation and those organizations when you get involved or go to those events?
Yeah, it's the camaraderie and it's the
Hmm.
friends you make. That's what it's truly all about in aviation. The community is so tight. Like all you have to do is go to a airport restaurant on a Saturday morning, right on the
Yes,
tarmac when
yes.
you watch all the GA aircrafts and you're surrounded by aviators and stories and like memorabilia to know that the community is so tight. So when I'm in these events and I'm around these other females who are in such close shoes to me, it just feels comforting, motivating, and a little bit like challenging too, because you're like, okay, she's doing this, I can do this too. It actually it
Hmm.
motivates you in such a great way, but it also
That's awesome.
supports you, which is what you need when you go through flight school and continuing on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
AOPA did a study a couple of years ago, and some of the problems with flight training that people exist and that existed. And I think some of the things that people reported back, one obviously was the cost, but the other one was the social aspect.
Yeah.
That there wasn't necessarily that, and you're talking about
Hmm.
surrounding yourself with that and going to Women in Aviation or pick the organization and having it be fun, whether this is a career interest or a recreational interest, enjoying that part of
Absolutely.
it.
Yeah. No, it's okay. Aviation can seem a little bit distant, hard to get into,
Hmm.
but starting at, just going to the restaurant or starting somewhere small, reaching out to someone on Instagram, those small steps will definitely lead to the bigger picture and allow that, the aviation world to come a little closer to you, get a little bit more magnified.
When we were in San Diego at the pilot job fair, we were talking a little bit about kind of our backgrounds and some similarities.
Yeah.
I don't come from an aviation background. I don't come from a science background. I don't come from a math background. Similar to your time at Disney, I come from a performing background, drama, musical theater. There is nothing STEM about my background. And from the sound of it, we kind of have that in common. So
Yeah.
what would you say to someone that says, I can't go ahead and do that? I'd love to be a pilot, but math and me just don't get along. And I don't understand physics. And obviously, you've got to understand physics to be a pilot. What would you say to that person?
Again, just face that fear and take that negative thought that's at that forefront and push it to the back. There's so much more to flying than physics. I'm not great at physics. Um, Start getting your feet wet, because once you do that, those pre-existing thoughts will start to fade, and you're going to gain
Hmm.
some confidence in yourself, and you're going to see what you're really good at. So you might be amazing at the radio. You might be great on comms. There's other things that you're going to be awesome at that's going to boost your confidence. And then you'll work hard on the things that, you're slacking. I was great with the book stuff. I love to study. I would cocoon myself in a room. I'd have all my inspirational quotes up and I would study. And I was really good at the oral part. I never feared the oral and the check writing.
Hmm.
The flying, I knew I had to put more of my hard work and focus in, because that didn't come as naturally to me. So
Hmm.
simulator work, asking questions, chair flying was huge. So, yes, if you have those thoughts of, I don't know math, well, you might know something that another aviator struggles with, and it's more natural to you. So, go get your confidence from the things you know, and then work on the things that are harder for you. That
Awesome.
would be my
I love
advice.
that. It's kind of a running theme, and a lot of the things that we've been talking about is community, the network, the
Mhm,
people coming and helping you out, being a
mhm,
team. Yeah, your strength is someone else's weakness and vice versa. So
mhm.
it
Yep.
definitely can be a social thing. So,
Yes.
the tell us a little bit about your life as a flight attendant and what it's like and the parts of it that you
Well,
enjoy and
I love it. I love it. And I would suggest, if anyone listens to this and has ever thought about becoming a flight attendant, go for it. Such a great job. I mean, I've been very, very privileged to have worked for Delta for my stint as a flight attendant, and they've been an amazing company to me.
Hmm.
So I can't speak for other companies, but the job in general, yes, it has its cons, early pickups, reserve days, but sometimes you land yourself in Paris and you're
Hmm.
having the time of your life, and you could only, give back the credit to being a flight attendant. I've loved it. I When my first bus ride in, I was Minneapolis based. I was sitting next to all these flight attendants in the bus going to the airport from the employee lot, and they were talking about bidding and seniority, and I recognized there is this huge aviation history I knew nothing about and was so new to, and it was so established, and I fell in love with it really early on. So I knew aviation was always going to be in my life, just from the get go. So yeah, I've been huge passion for the flight attendant job, and I hope to, when I'm in the cockpit, you know, down the line on a Delta plane, if that's what happens. I hope to kind of give back the love to the flight attendants, like grab their coffees or give them better PAs, or do things that I sometimes think, oh man, I wish that captain would say a PA when there's bad turbulence. I want to be able to bring those small things that I thought of as a flight attendant to the cockpit. I hope that will be something I can bring. Yeah.
Absolutely. You
Yeah.
talked about the history of aviation or the history that you had learned, and obviously we're talking about the present. What are some of the things that you see or that you take that you're passionate about aviation moving forward?
Well, I know this is a little bit more new to the scene. I eventually down the line, when I'm able to do so, would love to get involved with the mental health side of
Hmm.
aviation. I
Yeah.
know it's a new, it's kind of becoming, it's getting some traction. It's a newer topic, but I believe so strongly in it, and I see us all as human beings and with our own stresses in life, and I really hope that can come to the forefront. For all pilots, and I would love to be involved with that in some way. I don't know much information about it, but that's something I have a strong, like, natural interest in, and I would like to be a benefit for that cause eventually, or even now. Um,
Yes.
yeah. So that's something I've been looking into and something I think about often. I think it would be a good outlet for all pilots to have some way to discuss mental health and how they are feeling once in a while.
Absolutely. I mean, mental health is a spectrum, like physical health. There's
Yeah,
not just black and white.
yeah.
It's got some of the stigma associated with someone, having a rough time in their life and
Yeah.
seeking a little bit of assistance. That's not a sign of weakness. It's not something that people should be
Mm-mm.
shied away from. But
Yeah, I
no,
would say it's a sign of
absolutely,
strength. So, yeah.
very important
Yeah.
topic.
So
I agree.
hopefully I can get involved with that part of aviation. That would be great.
Definitely, it definitely would
Yeah.
be. So, well, we'll start wrapping things up a little bit. Let's go ahead and do a couple fun questions. What is your
But,
favorite aviation related story? Not like a bedtime story, just something that either
sure.
happened to you or something that you experienced.
Well, I have to be honest, off the top of my head, I've been binge watching Masters of the Air. So, the 100th bomb group from the Second Great War, I am obsessed with right now. I just think what
Hmm.
they went through, their tenacity, what they saw, um, makes me think, gosh, when I've been through severe turbulence, it was nothing like what they were experiencing and their heroism and all that. So, right now, currently, that's my favorite aviation story. It's nothing personal to me. It's just something I've been watching and then kind of studying up on. I was a European history major in college, so
Okay.
I think that stems back to that a little bit.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
yeah. So
Okay.
go watch Masters in the Air or
Yes,
of the Air.
I've had more than a couple of people tell me to go ahead and do that.
It's
Uh,
good.
the Another one, what is your favorite aircraft? Now, this could be something you've flown in or flown. It could be something you haven't flown. It could be fictional. I mean, you've got Anakin Skywalker in a painting there behind you. If you want to tell me that your favorite aircraft is the heavily modified YT 1300
Yes.
Quellion freighter, then I'm good with that. But what's
Good job.
what? Thank you.
You know
What's
your
your
Star Wars.
oh my gosh, yes.
Yes, this my sister painted this for me. I am a
Amazing.
very big Star Wars fan, so cheers to Anakin. Um, okay, I think there's two answers to this question. When I went into general aviation, I knew nothing about the planes. I went into all of my flight school very, very ignorantly. It worked out for me in the end. Um, so I knew more about the big birds. Obviously trained on them for Delta, most of the aircraft. The 767 has a huge place in my heart because when I originally started flying, I was trying to pick up a lot of international, and we'd generally be on the 76, and it made me feel
Mhm.
like I was going somewhere. So again, that romantic side of it, I just thought, okay, I'm on a 76, here we go. We're leaving JFK. But recently, I was flying to Sydney, Australia, and we were on the Airbus 350, and I was giving the pilots a restroom break, and the FO was showing me all the gadgets up in that cockpit, and oh my goodness, it was beautiful. Their little tray for their meals has a laptop underneath, a keyboard. Um, they can request things with ATC via that keyboard rather than the radio communication, so it eliminates some of that. It just felt innovative and pretty. Their seats had stars on it. So the Airbus 350 is starting to creep up there with the Boeing 767 for me. And then in GA, I would love to say the Cessna 172 because we have to rely on that so heavily.
Yep.
But when I went to the Piper Seminole, that was the first time I felt like I had left my training wheels behind. And
Yep.
I really felt like, I mean, it's not the fastest aircraft out there, but for me at that time, it felt like speed and it felt strong. And I felt like I'd done it. Like I'm a pilot now. I'm rotating at 70 instead of 55. So the Piper Seminole has my heart currently with GA, but again, I'm not well versed with general aircraft. I'm sure I will get there. If I can tell a quick story.
Please go for it.
All right. On my first solo cross country, I was flying down to CRQ, so happy, thinking, oh my gosh, I have to land this on my own. I have to descend on my own, all that. And made my first radio call with Carlsbad Tower, and they repeated it back to me. And then immediately after, they said citation, and I thought, oh my goodness, I got a citation. Like I'm in trouble. And lo and behold, it's an aircraft. That's how
That is
I didn't know
awesome.
anything. Yeah. So, I thought I was in trouble on my first solo cross country. I wasn't. I got there in the end. But the Piper Seminole wins my heart currently. We'll see if that ends up changing.
Yes. A lot
Yeah.
more aircraft in your future to experience. We'll see if any of them
Yeah.
eclipse them. But again, there's always something special about your first large aircraft, your first aircraft that has buttons on the ceiling as opposed to everything is
Can't
there
wait.
on the ground. So
Yeah. I know that's definitely something to look forward to.
So, obviously your journey has been not linear. It hasn't been I knew I wanted to do it and I started it right away. You're someone that has gone around, done a bunch of different things. And again, some hurdles as you've gone through this. If someone wanted to reach out to you and pick your brain about your journey or about their journey or just happen to some of the things that you have done, how could someone get a hold of you?
I am pretty active on Instagram. Under pilot_Nelly, 3 Ys. I'm mostly active on there. That's the social platform I would say I
Okay.
use the most. So yeah, you can absolutely send me a message. I'm on there frequently, and I'll respond back just with any questions. And no question is a dumb question. That's an often used phrase in aviation. Um, I believe that. And when I went through CFI school, a pilot told me that, you know, you'll be the best pilot if you're humble, knowledgeable, and approachable. So if you reach out to me, I hope I can be that approachable side and be able to get back to you. And just if you have fears, I can talk you through them and give you a little bit of motivation.
Awesome. Something I'm sure they could make a lot of good use at. It's like you said, it's intimidating. It's crazy. You're not sure what to expect. And just having someone
Yes,
saying, been there, done that. It's normal. This is fine.
it is.
So
It is fine. Yes. And again, lean heavily on those around you. Like that's why the community's there, because when you're feeling that, they'll be there to calm your fears.
awesome. All
Yeah.
right, Jennel, thank you so much for spending part of your day with us here. Look forward to go ahead and having the chance to chat with you soon. We'll go ahead and put the Instagram in the comments down below. So hey, have a great day. Thanks again for
Thank
being here, and we look forward to seeing everybody soon. Take care.
thank you. Bye.